Welcome back to a new episode of Mastering Programming. In today's episode, I'll be showing you how we can move text or integers, strings from one activity to the other. Now, at the moment, I have this running project and I will be displaying what it does at the moment. All it does is basically has a button and a text, and when you click on this button, it moves you to the next activity. This is what this project currently does. What we're going to do is we're going to change it so that it does have a text field, and you will be able to enter some words or text or numbers, whatever, inside that text field. And when we click on to next page, we will have the same exact stuff that we wrote in the next page. So basically what we're doing is we're moving data from our first activity to our second activity. Without further ado, let's get started. Now, the first thing that I will do, and it's probably obviously, is that I'll first just put this a little bit higher, and then what I'll do is I'll actually add a text field. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's move to design. We're gonna get a text, plain text, and we're simply just going to add it on our screen just like this. There we go. And what we want to do is that if they enter the name here and click to next page, we actually want to display their name into our second page over here. So we're not going to be doing any changes to the UI of this page, but we will be, as you can see here. Now, just one thing that I want to add is also some constraints that will allow us to make this look good. So we want this to say first page, and then I'm just going to do this, and I'll do that. There we go. And then I'll add something here and something there. There we go. And now if we run this app, we're going to have first page, name, and button. Now let's continue to actually know what we're going to do. So if I go ahead and split this, we'll find out that text field has the ID of edit text person name. I'm just going to change this to something more simple. Maybe you can just keep it as edit text 3, for example, which will cause something here. So let's just copy the ID here as well, and now it will just work perfectly. There we go. Beautiful. So remember that this is our ID. Now what we need to do is we need to go to our main activity, and in my main activity I already actually connected the button to an action here. You can see that I connected it to the actual UI element, and then I also created an on-click action here for the button. So whenever the button's pressed, what happens inside of these two brackets will work. Now what I need to do is I just need to first come over here, and I'm going to say can be text view, and then I will say text field 3. So this is now just going to actually have the text view. So I'm going to go over here and I'll say text field 3 is equal to find view by ID r.id dot, and then we call it edit text 3. There we go. And now we can actually use whatever is in here. Now, how do we actually move things from one area to the other? Well, as you can see here, when the button is pressed, what we do is we're creating an intent, and that intent points to our main activity 2, which is this class, which is actually our second page. And then we actually start the activity, we start that intent. So it will make sense that if we want to move information from one area to the other, all we need to do is also pass things into that intent. And that's exactly what I'll do. I'll type in intent dot put extra, and what this does is that it allows me to actually put more information into my intent. So I'm gonna give it a key or a name, and let's just call it user name, and then here I'll actually pass the value that I want. So it could be something static like David, or, which is what we're doing, or what we're going to do, we want it to be whatever's inside the text field. So I'll say text field 3 text. There we go. And let's just make sure we move it to string anyways. There we go. And that's actually all you need to do to pass the information. But on the main activity 2 here, we just need to do a little bit of work in order to actually display that information. So first of all, let's actually point our text view to, or let's actually create a variable here that stands for our text view that we have over here. So it has an ID of just text view. Let's go back here and I will say text view, and let's just give it a name of moved string because we're just moving the string from one area to one area. Then we can go over and I'm going to say moved string is equal to, and I always forget this, but we can come over here and it will be find view by ID r dot ID, and it was just called text view. There we go. So now that we've got our moved string here pointing to our text view here, we can actually change it to display whatever we want. Now before I do this, we just have a red line here, and that's just because currently this is not actually constrained, so it's going to be floating anywhere on the screen. So let's just quickly just add some constraints like this so that we dismiss the error. It's not a big deal, but it just makes me feel better because things start looking better. And that way we can actually get rid of the error over here, and whenever we turn on the app, we will know that it's actually over here. Now let's go back to our main activity 2, and just like we moved from the main activity here, we push that intent with put extra username and then the actual text field. We're gonna do the exact same thing, except this time instead of saying put extra, we're going to say get extra. Now I'm gonna come over here and I'll create this other variable, and it will just be of type string. So I'll say string passed info, so the information that just passed to us, and I'll say get intent dot get extras dot get string, and here, this is very important, we're passing the key, so it needs to be exactly the same key that we put here, which is username. So if I just come over here and put username inside, and then now we're actually getting it and we're saving it inside of passed info. So what I can do now is I can say something like this. I can say moved string dot set text, and inside of here I'm just going to be passing passed info. There we go. Let's run this app and see what it actually does and whether it worked or not. So I'm going to run the app now. Okay, so if you try to run the app already, you'll realize that it crashes when you click next. That's only because I accidentally put this here while it's meant to be after the set content view. So now if we run the app right now, and I will, you'll realize that it actually does work perfectly. And if I put anything here, so first of all, I'll click on next, it will say name. But if I go ahead and say something like David in the text field and click to next page, you can see that it says David as well. So as you can see, it does work perfectly as we wanted it. It does move information around. You can even sort of like put any number you want, and it will also move it from one page to the other. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you did enjoy watching this episode, and I hope that you did learn from it and benefit from it as well. I hope to see you in the next episodes as well.